About 2 weeks ago, I was watching the African Cup of Nations, the final between Morocco and Senegal. It was very entertaining. By the end of the entire game, after Senegal won, I felt like I'd watched a movie, like a good movie. I was entertained. So it was great, and at the end, I think the team that deserved to win won. So it was good. There were some few incidents on the pitch. There was a refereeing decision that was not appreciated, which led the Senegalese players to walk off the pitch and then come back. But after all the drama, I saw some spider web there. Oh. Fucking hell. What's the size of this spider if this web is that thick? Let's move on. Must be a big spider. So after the game, obviously social media and commentators had a lot to say. And what disappointed me is that some few commentators, there was this guy from ESPN FC, who said what happened, the incident that happened with Senegal walking off the pitch, this is terrible for African soccer, for African football, soccer in the US. Which kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And then on CBS, I think it's called CBS Sports Golazzo, Thierry Henry, the former striker, also said, yes, this was not good. This was terrible for African football. And I was very disappointed to hear that. This is something I've heard basically my entire life. When something is done by a minority of people of a certain demographic, you're gonna lump up all the people of that demographic to say that this is how they are, this is what they do. I grew up in Switzerland. I was born in France. And I remember I was involved in a fight at school. Somebody had thrown some racist insults at me. Some Italian kid in Switzerland. And I fired back. I told him something very hurtful to match his energy. And he decided to attack me. He was so upset that he attacked me. And I beat him up. Well, it was a short fight. It lasted like less than 10 seconds, but I floored him. And shortly after that, obviously, I had to go to... It was a huge thing. I was insulted. I was racially abused. I threw it back at him. Then I was physically attacked. I defended myself. And yet, nothing happened to that kid. I was the problem. We were the same age, we were both kids. I think I was about 10 years old. And had a meeting with the teacher. My parents were called. The situation was explained that, violent behavior. And then somebody mentioned that, black people. These people are aggressive. And, I could give you many different situations where one incident causes everybody in that particular group, that particular demographic to be lumped up together and say, this is how they are. You know how they are, these people, those people. That's how I felt when I heard Thierry Henry said what he said and that ESPN guy. As I said, I watched the African Cup of Nations. I think it was really beautiful. It's the first time that I get a chance to actually watch it. The last time I watched it was maybe, I want to say, it could be 20 years. Or even more than that. It was my first time to actually watch it. And yeah, I was impressed. It was nice. I actually watched most of the games. Some of the games I couldn't watch because I was working. But I watched most of the games. After the first round, the first round there were some games with smaller teams that I had no interest in seeing. But after that I watched almost all the games until the final. And I was very well entertained. The quality of football was really good. I was surprised to see small teams, lower rankings, doing very well. And the usual complaints, VAR, VAR, now it shouldn't have been like this, it should have been like that. This decision, yeah, we agree, we disagree. Half the fans are agreeing, the other half strongly disagrees. It's football, And then to the final. Now, talking about the final, I felt the final was actually very entertaining, high quality football between very strong teams. First things first, the referee. Maybe an unpopular opinion, but I'm of the opinion that the referee was actually very good. I felt he was very good. He did a good job. That's why he was chosen for the final, because he's a quality referee. So I think he did well. Towards the end of the second half, Senegal scored. They scored a goal and it was a corner. So they took the corner, the ball was in the air. The players were pushing each other in the goal area, in the penalty area. Hakimi fell, the referee whistled a foul. And because he whistled the foul, before the ball actually even reached the players, the ball was still in the air. Once Senegal scored, the goal was not allowed, it was disallowed. On replay, you could clearly see that Hakimi was at fault. He never looked at the ball. He was preoccupied with the Senegalese player who was trying to reach the ball, running forwards towards the goal, and Hakimi is pushing him, preventing him from making his move. Instead of looking at the ball and try to head the ball away, no. So the goal should have stood, but the referee whistled and said it was a foul. Now, to play the devil's advocate, the referee is behind the players. The players are in front of him and then the goalkeeper in front of the players. So from his point of view, which we saw during the replay, he sees a foul. Because referees do not look at the ball in the air. Referees always look at the action between the players. That's what they do. And so when a corner is about to be taken, they want to make sure that no one is committing a foul in there. And that's why you see when a corner has to be taken, the referee will whistle, speak to the players, hey, take it easy, this is not okay, be careful, because people are shoving and pushing each other. And then they're about to take whistles for the corner to be taken, more shoving and pushing, stops the play again, tells them to calm down. And if they don't want to come down, then somebody might get a yellow card. That's the nature of the game. And so while the corner was being taken, he was looking at the players to make sure nobody is committing a foul that's going to result in a card, possibly a penalty. Hi, how are you doing? How are you? And so from the referee's point of view, he's looking at the players. He sees Hakimi falling. He believes that maybe the ball was coming towards him and then he got pushed. And that's why he whistled. But if he had looked at the entire picture, he would have seen that Hakimi was preventing the Senegalese player from going for the ball. So that's a mistake on his part. Once he whistles, the goal is disallowed. VAR should have been involved. VAR. They should have said, no, let's look at this again. Oh no, look, it looks like Hakimi is actually the guy who committed the foul. So the goal stands. Now later on from, I don't know if it's true, but I saw a lot of commentators, pundits, saying that if the referee whistles before the goal, then VAR cannot be involved. So VAR could not be involved because he had whistled before the goal was scored, which I find absurd, to be honest. That's the point of VAR, to correct mistakes by giving the referee different angles that he doesn't have. The referee only had the one angle. It was behind the action. Now VAR sees multiple different angles and they can see that no, it's a mistake. Hakimi is actually at fault here. The goal stands. So I don't understand this rule, if it's even true, but to me it's a failure from VAR. VAR is there. They can see that, this is a legit goal. Everybody can see that. Millions of people around the world can see that. It's a goal. So I don't understand that rule, if it's even a rule. I probably have to double check it, So anyway, that was the referee's mistake, but I felt he was being let down by VAR. And then some few minutes after that, penalty. Literally a minute or two after that. It's the end of the game. Giving a penalty to Morocco at that stage of the game is basically game over. The Senegalese felt it was not a penalty. Brahim Diaz was in a pushing game, in a pushing match with a Senegalese player that was much bigger and taller than him. And he fell on the floor. And the Senegalese guys cleared the ball. And then Brahim Diaz was furious, stating that no, it's a penalty. I got pushed, it's a penalty. I would have scored if it wasn't for that. The ref, who saw the action, told him, no, it's not a penalty. We carry on. So far, so good. Good decision from the ref. These guys were protesting, they were kicking and screaming, they were really, really upset. And VAR decides to be involved, VAR. So they get involved. And they decide that it could be a penalty. And so they tell the ref, hey, no, we've reviewed everything there. Looks like it's a penalty. Maybe you should check it out. So now the guy is stopping the game. He needs to go and check it out because VAR has told him that no, you said it's not a penalty, but we think it could be a penalty, right? And so he goes to check. The Senegalese are furious. The Moroccans are very, very happy. Confusion, chaos. He goes to check. Looking at the VAR, to me, I'm still in agreement with the referee to say that this was not a penalty. He made the right call. But when you freeze every little frame, you frame the action and you freeze it. You freeze frame and you go in slow motion and you come back and super slow motion and you freeze, then yes, it looks so much worse. It always does, because now you can see that the Senegalese player was having his hand on the left side of Brahim Diaz's neck when he jumped. And Brahim Diaz, being a professional player, obviously felt the hand and collapsed in some dramatic fashion. I mean, the way it went down, there's no way a normal man would collapse like that if touched a little bit on the neck. That's the dark art of the sport. And so, frame by frame action, slow motion, super slow motion, freezing the action. It looks worse and worse and worse because now you can see that the hand was there and the player fell. It is a penalty when you look at the action. And so once again, after looking at the action, he did the right thing again. He gave the penalty. What else could he do? So I wouldn't blame the referee for this. But once he gave the penalty, now the Senegalese were furious. And I completely understand. We scored a completely legitimate goal and effectively became the African champions. A beautiful goal. And you've refused, you've disallowed a completely legitimate goal, and some few minutes later you're giving a dodgy penalty. I can understand how they would feel like it's complete robbery. So I understand the anger, the frustration, and then the coach, the Senegalese coach, says, no, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. If you want to win this way, then we're leaving. We're leaving. You're forfeiting the game. So when you forfeit the game, it's a 3-0 defeat. And they went back to the dressing room. And it's not right, but I can understand the frustration. And I can understand the thinking. We won the cup, and you've disallowed our goal, and now you're giving a penalty. That's very questionable. No. If you're going to look at VAR for this action, then you have to look at VAR for the first action. Let's go back and look at VAR. It's only fair. We can look, and I think that would have been the solution. Let's look back. Let VAR make things equalized and fair, and look at both actions with VAR, and give that goal, and then give the penalty. So they left, and I do understand the anger. And then negotiations, and then they came back to play. Brahim Diaz tried the Panenka, messed it up, and went into the history book for missing a Panenka in practically the final kick of an African Cup of Nations final. Even if it hadn't been a Panenka, he could have missed. High pressure situation, you can miss. So yeah, he missed it, it happens. The thing with the Panenka, when it goes in, you look like a maestro. It's so beautiful, wow. Cold-blooded, it goes in there, it's beautiful. When you miss, you look like a complete fool. You practically look like you're paid off by the opposing team because it comes so slowly, and the goalkeeper just grabbed it, and Mendy, the Senegalese goalkeeper, just hugged it. And it looked like, nah, come on, this has to be staged. He did this on purpose. No, he's not serious. So anyway, so the game went into extra time, and Senegal scored again, and they won the game, and it was fair. Beautiful game. I was really entertained. I think people around the world were entertained. It was beautiful. But now the comments in the end, I just felt it was a disgrace to say that no, what happened there was a disgrace for African football. No. Like I said, the refereeing was okay. It was good, actually. There was that one incident with a disallowed goal, but VAR, regardless of the rules, should have stepped in and helped him out. And then the penalty, in my opinion, his first call was the right call to say play on, there's no penalty. And then VAR decided to get involved, and they said no, come have a look. And yes, when you have a look like that, when it's pictures are frozen, slow mode and all that stuff, you have to give the penalty because there was contact. So yeah. And then they walked off, but then they came back. I would blame CAF and FIFA, but CAF especially, because all these CAF officials, and CAF is the African Football Federation, CAF, what is the C for? I don't know. It's the African Football Federation, basically. The CAF president and authorities and all the top dogs, and even the president of FIFA, Infantino, they were all there in the stadium watching, and they could have been involved. They could have been involved, and they could have assisted the referee. The referee was alone. The whole time I'm looking at the referee, he's alone, doesn't really know what to do. It's an unprecedented situation in the final. And I think he did well. I mean, it was a very, very high pressure situation. So I think he did well. I think he did very well. But he was not supported by his management. No communication from his management. I didn't see some official in a suit coming to speak to him and speak to the Senegalese coach and the Senegalese manager and the Moroccan manager, and then making a decision to say, okay, we understand the frustration. We're gonna give this penalty. We're also gonna we have looked at the other action, and it is a goal. We're giving that goal. That would have been fair. Although not 100% fair, because that penalty was not really a penalty. Brahim Diaz kind of dived. But in the broader sense of things, it could have been fair. But nothing done from the officials, from CAF, from FIFA. And I felt these guys, they disgrace themselves. They disgrace themselves. You're the president of CAF, you're the president of FIFA, you're there, and you're watching this and you're not intervening. It's a good thing that Senegal came back, because if Morocco had won, it would have been terrible. Winning by not scoring a goal, by forfeiting the game, because Senegal is forfeiting the game, it would have gone down in history really badly. Like, you know, the only winners that are not true winners. They didn't deserve it. In fact, they lost the game 1-0. So yeah, it would have been bittersweet for them. Better losing, standing like men, than winning by forfeit, because, you know, the opposing team scored against you, and it was disallowed wrongly disallowed now. So yeah, I put the blame on CAF, on FIFA, for not taking action at that time to save the game. And now going to the comments there, the comments about this was terrible, this is a disgrace for African football. Those guys don't know what they're talking about. It was not a disgrace for African football. It was beautiful. It was beautiful, it was entertaining. I think it was, you know, this made me want to watch the next African Cup of Nations. The Moroccan stadiums were wonderful. The vibe was good. It was great. I think it was great. There were no incidents before that. But talking about incidents, what was going on with the towels? Now that was a disgrace. If there was one disgrace in this game, it was the towel incident. I was shocked. We were watching the game, and at one point, I don't know if it happened early on, but I noticed it at extra time. When the camera was panning towards Mendy, the Senegalese goalkeeper, at one point I could see there was some brouhaha there next to his goal. I saw someone running, I saw some ball boys running as well, and I didn't know what was going on there. But later on, come to find out that, you know, it was the old towel gate, which was a complete disgrace. I'm not going to talk about this again. People have talked about that at length, but it was disgraceful, especially because it happened between the Morocco and Nigeria game as well, where the Moroccans were trying to steal or stole the Nigerian goalkeeper's towels several times. So again, CAF should have made sure that this never ever happens again, and it happened in the final. And I think that was a disgrace, and Morocco disgraced themselves. Some of the fans became emotional when the penalty was given, the Senegalese fans, and they became aggressive, but they never actually walked on the pitch. So people are saying that no, they invaded, there was a pitch invasion by the fans. No, it never happened. Not a single fan was on the pitch. They were just emotional. So in the end, saying that this game, this final, was a disgrace for African football, I think it's really, really disingenuous to say that. You know, and to me, there is a tinge of racism in that statement. More than 50 countries in Africa. There were no incidents, no violence between the fans. Everything was smooth. And the final itself was good, apart from the disgraceful towel thing. That was really disgraceful. But apart from that, apart from the final, all the other games are really, really beautiful. And my point is, just because Morocco did what they did, and when I say Morocco, I mean including the Moroccan players. I saw Hakimi taking a towel as well and being urged by the supporters to throw the towel away, and he did. He was a bit confused at first. He didn't know if he had to grab Mendy's bottle or something else, and then they said, the towel. Then he grabbed it, he threw it away. And that was disgraceful from Hakimi. And then there was a Moroccan player in full kit who was there trying to prevent the substitute goalkeeper, Senegalese goalkeeper, from giving a towel to the Senegalese goalkeeper, Mendy, because it was raining and he wanted to dry his gloves because it was slippery. And that was ridiculous, So the mentality was like, no. He's not going to dry his gloves. He must play like that so that, hopefully the ball will slip, and then, what a disgrace. But that's Morocco. The actions of Morocco, just because of what Morocco did against Nigeria and against Senegal in the final, you cannot say that, it's the entire African continent. Africa is a disgrace. It's a disgrace for African football. Come on, it's one country, one team. And just because the Senegalese were so upset that they walked off the pitch, you cannot then say that because of what the Senegalese did, it's a disgrace to all African countries. That's really, really racist, in my opinion. I take you back to my story when I was 10 years old. They're all like that. They're aggressive, they're violent, Those people, you know them. So yeah, I felt disappointed by the statement. It was rubbish. If I was Thierry Henry, I would have made an apology to say, no, maybe I misspoke. I didn't mean that, the actions of some few people are a disgrace for African football. No, it's a disgrace for Morocco. The towel thing is a disgrace for Morocco. Not for Egypt, not for Algeria, not for Nigeria, not for South Africa, not for anybody else in Africa. Walking off the pitch, yeah, not a good look. But that has nothing to do with Cameroon or Burkina Faso or Ivory Coast or anybody else. So yeah, that's my opinion. Yeah, people need to be better and stop this kind of behavior and accusing people like that, because that's not on. How are you doing? A simple statement would have been, what Morocco did is disgraceful. With the towels and all that stuff, they really disgraced their own country. Trying to forfeit the game because you're upset. You can say what Senegal did is not good for Senegal. I mean, it's really painting the Senegalese Football Association in a bad light, but don't say African football. You see, when there's a negative thing happening or committed by a black person or an African person, often the entire community is painted in a negative brush. But when something great is done, it's never, oh, yeah, of course, these people are wonderful. Oh, have you heard? There is this surgeon, this black surgeon actually, who managed to do this amazing surgery. Oh, yeah. He separated these twins, these Siamese twins. He's an expert in the field. Of course. I mean, it's these people, black people, they're so smart. They're so smart, I'm not surprised. No, you're never gonna hear that. Mahershala Ali wins an Oscar, or Denzel Washington wins an Oscar. wins an Academy Award. You're never gonna hear, oh, of course, these people are so disciplined and such hard worker. I'm not surprised. They just, black people, African Americans, they're so disciplined, they're so talented, of course. No, it's always, what I hear often is, I'm a doctor. I am a doctor, I'm a medical doctor. And often I would hear something like, from people who know me, who are not black. Not so much now, but in previous years it used to happen quite often. They would say, they would never say, oh, of course you're a doctor. Of course, I'm not surprised. You're black. So when I see a black man, I'm thinking doctor, engineer, rocket scientist, things like that. No, you're never gonna hear that. Often what you're gonna hear is, oh, that's the exception to the rule. Let that sink in. That's sad. It's a sad state of affair. But and because of all of that, it really irritated me to hear Thierry Henry, especially Thierry Henry, because he's black. As a black guy saying that, I just felt, when he said it, I was upset. Well, not upset, it's not going to be upset about, but I was annoyed. Thierry Henry needs to do better. Generally, people need to do better. They need to improve. They need to improve themselves. They need to have that social intelligence and avoid insulting an entire demographic, an entire group, because of the actions of one person. I remember years ago there was this Chris Rock skit where it was a joke, right? Where there was like a barometer with a needle of the black community trying to get there, and they're showing you a successful black person, the needle goes up, and then they're showing you another successful person, it goes up. Somebody did something heroic, it goes up. Somebody did a good deed, a black person, it goes up. And then there's plenty of good deeds being done, and the bar keeps going up. And at one point, there's a fight. There's a fight that happened at some show or some cinema or something, and the entire thing collapses back to the ground. You see, the blacks, of course. Anyway, cheers.